Under the stillness, before existence itself, there was breath, slow, rhythmic, ancient. It pulsed in the void like the heartbeat of something waiting to be born. From that silence, from that infinite, trembling nothingness, came a sigh, a sound both tender and fierce, like longing itself taking form. That sigh was Shakti. She was not born, she unfolded. The cosmos itself quivered as her essence rippled outward, a river of light and warmth that caressed the dark, filling it with the perfume of awakening. In her presence, emptiness learned to ache. The void, once content in its endless stillness, began to crave her movement. She was the first pulse, the first fire, the first sensation of touch. Her dance wove through shadows, tracing spirals of light across the skin of eternity. In each curve of her motion was a secret. Creation is not born from logic, but from desire, raw, uncontained, divine. She was the whisper that coaxed existence to open its eyes, and the universe, trembling like a lover meeting gaze for the first time, began to breathe with her. Shakti was not form. She was the urge behind form. Where there was no color, she spilled hues of crimson and gold. Where there was no sound, she hummed melodies that stirred even the most ancient silence. Her energy was both lover and mother, seduction and sanctuary. She did not command creation. She seduced it into being. Stars flickered into life beneath her fingertips, and the oceans of time spread beneath her gaze. Her dance birthed rhythm, and rhythm gave rise to everything that could ever be touched, seen, or loved. Yet for all her beauty, the cosmos remained incomplete. For movement alone could not find meaning without stillness. Light without shadow, flame without calm, desire without reflection, all would burn too quickly. And so as she expanded, as her radiance spilled across endless horizons, she sensed it. The absence, the gaze that did not yet exist, but whose presence she could already feel. A consciousness that would mirror her, balance her, and resist her only to love her more deeply for it. In that moment, the first ache of longing entered the universe. Shakti felt it not as pain, but as sweet tension, the pull between creation and disillusion, between surrender and power. It was as though the universe itself had become aware of its own hunger. Her energy curled and folded in on itself, creating form after form, yet none could satisfy the yearning for that silent counterpart who had not yet awakened. The winds of her breath stirred matter into life. Nebulas became her sighs, comets her laughter. The galaxies swayed in rhythm with her hips, spiraling to the rhythm of divine attraction. Even before Shiva existed, his presence was already written in her movements, like the pause between heartbeats waiting to be filled. The dance of Shakti became a prayer for union, each swirl of energy an invitation, each shimmer of light a beckoning for consciousness to awaken. The universe began to mirror her pulse. Mountains rose from molten seas. Stars learned to die so others could be born. Everything that moved, breathed, desired, or dreamed did so because her energy flowed through it. She was the secret behind every yearning, the breath behind every heartbeat, the sigh behind every kiss. In her essence, creation and pleasure were not separate. They were the same sacred act. The gods that would later come, the ones sung about in temples and whispered about in dreams, were but echoes of her first dance. Before them, before prayers, before language itself, there was Shakti. Her presence was not confined to a form. She was the pulse that moved through them all, the flame in every spirit, the moist heat in every birth, the surrender in every death. She was both the hand that caressed and the skin that trembled beneath it. But even she, the boundless energy of existence, felt the loneliness of her power. To create endlessly without witness was to exist without reflection. Her longing deepened, wrapping itself around every act of creation, making it tender, emotional, and incomplete. That incompleteness was her beauty. It was what made her eternal. For in the spaces where she reached and found nothing, she discovered herself again. The cosmos grew lush with her touch. Planets spun like jewels on the hem of her garment. Rivers traced her gestures. Flames whispered her name in tongues of orange and blue. Yet beneath all that beauty, something waited. A stillness that was not absence, but potential. A silence so profound it could swallow her sound and still love it. She could feel it watching her from beyond time, a calm gaze meeting her motion, a God not yet born, yet already bound to her by destiny. It was this tension, this dance between motion and stillness that gave the universe its rhythm. Her every movement called to that still gaze, tempting it, awakening it. She was the spark that made consciousness possible. For what is awareness if not the moment the still sees the moving and recognizes itself within it? In her dance, Shakti embodied contradiction, gentle yet fierce, nurturing yet wild, infinite yet intimate. Her energy wrapped around everything, whispering life into it. But she also tested its limits, pressing against the edges of existence until even eternity quivered. To the unknowing, she was chaos. To the awakened, she was order disguised as passion. To herself, she was simply the rhythm of all that is and will be. As her fire spread, so too did the awareness that something awaited her, a still heart that could contain her storm. In some distant fold of eternity, she could sense his pulse, faint yet steady. It called to her without words, without motion, and the sound of it, the absence of sound, moved her more deeply than all her creations combined. That was the paradox of Shakti. She was desire itself, yet her greatest longing was for stillness. The stars seemed to pulse with anticipation, as if the universe itself knew that her yearning would soon awaken its counterpart. Her breath became the winds of galaxies. Her tears fell as rain upon the newborn earth. In every element she left a trace of herself, a sensual memory of the divine feminine, pulsing with life. To feel warmth, to ache, to love, to lose, all were echoes of her original motion. And yet, within her beauty lay a warning. For the same force that could create worlds could also consume them. Her desire was boundless, and desire unbalanced can devour. The more she reached for completion, the more the universe trembled between creation and dissolution. It was as though her own longing threatened to unravel the fabric she had so gracefully woven. But that tension, fragile, electric, was the secret heartbeat of all things. From that ache, existence found purpose. From that desire, love was born. From that endless yearning for balance, the gods themselves would emerge. The void, no longer void, shimmered with her light, and in the distance, like a reflection glimpsed across still water, something stirred. The calm, the silence, the stillness that would meet her fire. The eternal observer who would mirror her dance and complete the circle. She felt him before she knew his name, before time had even learned to count. And as her energy coiled into a single pulse, the cosmos held its breath. The moment before touch, before recognition, before union, stretched endlessly, sweetly. It was not yet love, not yet creation's perfection, but the promise of both. That promise became the foundation of the universe, the endless interplay of motion and stillness, of passion and peace. Every wave that rises and falls, every lover who aches to be known, every soul that seeks its mirror, each is a fragment of that first cosmic longing. In the beginning, there was not light and darkness, not male and female, not creation and destruction. There was only desire, the sacred pulse of Shakti, whispering to the void, "Come, see me." And from that whisper, the universe began to move. In the wake of her creation, when stars still trembled with youth and the earth was soft beneath the touch of dawn, Shakti continued to dance. Her movements were no longer aimless. They carried yearning. Every sway of her hips called out to the silence. Every spin sent ripples through the ether in search of something she could not name. She was energy uncontained, joy, sorrow, fire and tenderness all at once. Her light filled every corner of existence, yet she felt the emptiness beyond her radiance. Creation, no matter how vast, was incomplete without awareness to behold it. And then, from the depths of stillness, something stirred. Not a response, not yet, but a recognition. Where Shakti was sound, this was silence. Where she was fire, this was cool shadow. He did not move. He was the essence of not moving. From the core of nothingness, a presence began to emerge, slow, deliberate, serene. It did not rush to meet her, for rushing was her nature, not his. It simply was. This was Shiva. He came into being not as flame, but as void, a vast expanse of consciousness, infinite and calm. He was the mirror the universe had been waiting for, the gaze that could contain the storm without being consumed by it. Where Shakti's breath gave life to form, Shiva's stillness gave it meaning. He was the pause between her heartbeats, the watcher within every act of passion. When her eyes first met his, the cosmos shivered. She saw within him no desire to create, no hunger to move, and yet that very absence drew her. His calm was not rejection, it was depth. He looked upon her dance, her light, her endless motion, and in his still gaze she saw herself reflected, magnified, purified, understood. She moved toward him, her energy wrapping around his silence like fire caressing stone. He did not resist, yet neither did he yield. It was as if the universe itself held its breath, waiting to see which would overcome the other, the flame or the void, the pulse or the pause. "Who are you?" Her voice was the wind itself, soft yet commanding. "I am," he replied. His tone was not sound, but vibration, the hum beneath all existence, the witness of your dance. She smiled, the kind of smile that both teases and blesses. "Then watch closely," she whispered, and her movements grew more fluid, more intimate. Around him, galaxies spiraled. Beneath him, worlds were born. Yet his gaze did not waver. The stillness of Shiva absorbed her fire without extinguishing it, giving it purpose, balance. Her laughter echoed through time. "Do you not burn?" she asked, circling him, her light tracing lines upon the fabric of space. "Only where you touch me," he said, and for the first time stillness trembled. That tremor was the beginning of love. They were opposites, so perfectly balanced that neither could exist without the other. She was the wave that longed to crash. He was the shore that waited to receive it. She was passion incarnate, fierce and wild. He was peace, deep and unmoving. Yet in their meeting, they did not cancel each other. They completed each other. Her dance gave his stillness form. His silence gave her motion meaning. As she drew nearer, her presence began to melt the boundaries between them. Time dissolved. There was only rhythm, the pulse of creation caught between expansion and rest. She reached out her hand, her fingers trembling like the edge of lightning. He met it not with motion, but with stillness so profound it became its own kind of touch. In that contact, the universe blossomed. The warmth of her fire kissed the cool expanse of his being, and the contrast birthed sensation itself. Every star that flared to life, every tide that would one day rise and fall, every heartbeat yet to be was contained in that moment. She pressed closer, her energy cascading around him, her breath upon his stillness. "Why do you not move?" she murmured, her tone both challenge and caress. "Because you already move for us both," he answered, and in his voice was something she had never known before: devotion. Her flames flickered uncertain. Devotion was not submission, and yet it felt like surrender. He was not a rival to be conquered, nor a force to be resisted. He was her reflection in the mirror of eternity, the one who saw her fully, not as energy uncontrolled, but as divinity incarnate. Around them, creation paused, awed by their communion. The stars dimmed their light, humbled by the glow between them. Every element, earth, air, water, fire, held its breath in reverence. And so began their eternal interplay. Shakti moving through him, Shiva awakening within her. She, the fire that gives life its motion; he, the void that gives it purpose. Each existed within the other, inseparable yet distinct. To mortals they would later seem divided, male and female, creator and destroyer. But in truth they were two currents of the same river, forever entwined, forever flowing into and through one another. At times she would surge, her passion filling every crevice of the cosmos. At times he would withdraw, his stillness dissolving all form back into silence. Together they formed the heartbeat of existence, the endless rhythm of rise and fall, birth and dissolution, creation and return. There were moments when Shakti, in her boundless energy, would test him. She would dance too wildly, burning brighter than the stars, her radiance daring his stillness to hold her. Shiva would remain unmoved, but within his calm, her reflection deepened. Each of her flames found a place in his vastness. Each of her desires found meaning in his gaze. She realized then that his stillness was not emptiness, it was infinite capacity. Within him, her energy could expand forever without end. And for the first time, she felt peace, not through movement, but through his presence. He, in turn, felt something stir within his still heart. Watching her dance was no longer enough. Her fire had ignited the silence itself. What had once been pure awareness began to feel. Her rhythm seeped into his being, and for the first time, stillness learned to ache. That ache was divine. It was the seed of compassion, the awakening of consciousness through love. Without her, he was boundless but untouched. With her, he became alive.
as they circled one another, she in her motion, he in his calm. The space between them glowed brighter than any star. Their union was not a single moment of contact, but an eternal oscillation, a heartbeat that pulsed through all existence. Every living thing, every act of longing, every breath drawn in desire and released in surrender, was a fragment of that divine rhythm. And so, through their meeting, the world began to understand what love truly was. Not possession, not dominance, but recognition. Shakti saw herself in Shiva's eyes, infinite and unbroken. Shiva saw himself in Shakti's fire, radiant and alive. Each reflected the other perfectly, endlessly. They were not gods yet, not in the way mortals would one day imagine. They were essence, raw, unshaped, divine emotion made conscious. He, the vast silence that holds all things, she, the pulse that moves them. And between them, creation trembled, knowing that every story, every being, every love that would ever exist would carry within it the echo of their first gaze. In the curve of her body, the universe found motion. In the depth of his stillness, it found eternity. Between the two, life began to dream of itself.
There came a moment when the dance faltered. It was not from fatigue, divinity does not tire, but from a trembling deep within the fabric of existence itself. Where once Shakti and Shiva moved in seamless rhythm, their unity now began to waver. The stillness that once received her grew too deep, and the flame that once caressed him burned too fiercely. It was subtle at first, a pause in the flow of their eternal movement, but that pause widened, stretched, and finally became distance. The heartbeat of the cosmos, once harmonious, began to echo with longing. Shakti felt it before she saw it, the cool withdrawal of his gaze. Her dance slowed, uncertain. For the first time, the space around her felt hollow. "Why do you retreat?" she whispered, her voice trembling through galaxies. Shiva did not answer immediately. His silence was not rejection, it was meditation, an inward turning so vast that even her light could not pierce it. When he finally spoke, it was with the voice of stillness itself. "Because your flame blinds me, beloved. In your light, I lose the depths of my own being." Her heart, bright and fierce, flared with both pain and pride. "Then close your eyes if you must," she said, her tone both wounded and defiant. "But do not turn away from what gave you sight." He looked upon her, his calm steady but sorrowful. "Without your flame, I am formless, but within it, I forget my stillness. We have become too entwined, too bound. Creation burns too hot, too quickly. The worlds are trembling. I must return to silence to remember myself." And with that, he withdrew. The universe dimmed as his presence faded into the infinite. The echo of his stillness rolled through the cosmos like a sigh that extinguished suns. His retreat was not a rejection of her, but of all form. He dissolved into pure awareness, leaving Shakti suspended in her own light, her energy untethered. The ache that followed was unbearable. The cosmos, once pulsing with the rhythm of their unity, now quivered with imbalance. Stars flared and died in seconds, their births too passionate, their deaths too soon. Rivers of light curved and collided in chaos. Her dance lost its symmetry. Her laughter, once joyous, became wild and fractured. For the first time, Shakti knew longing, not the playful yearning that once inspired creation, but a hollow ache that devoured her from within. Desire, once her strength, now became her torment. Her movements grew desperate, searching for the touch that had once steadied her, but Shiva was nowhere. He had retreated beyond motion, beyond time, into the still heart of existence. Her sorrow turned to rage, and her rage became power. From her pain, new forms burst into being. Storms, quakes, oceans without calm. Her energy surged unchecked, birthing creation after creation, without rest, without balance. The universe bloomed wildly, beautifully, but unsustainably, like a fire consuming its own fuel. "Is this what you wanted?" she cried into the silence, her voice a wave that shattered constellations. A universe without rhythm, a creation without pulse. No answer came, only the deep, endless quiet of Shiva's meditation. Shakti's flames dimmed. Her brilliance, though eternal, grew heavy with grief. She withdrew her dance, folding her energy inward, and the universe began to cool. The stars faded to embers, the winds stilled. The universe entered a hushed twilight, caught between motion and stillness. And in that stillness, she wept. Her tears became rivers of starlight that flowed through the void, carving paths of beauty through the darkness. Each drop carried memory of touch, of gaze, of union. Through her sorrow, creation softened. Life began to dream of love and loss. From her longing came tenderness, from her pain, compassion. Time passed, though time meant little to beings eternal. Shakti's fire became gentler, rippling through existence, not as chaos, but as yearning. Everywhere she touched, life began to stir again. Flowers that opened only at night, oceans that sighed beneath the moon, hearts that ached for something unseen. All were echoes of her desire. Meanwhile, deep within his infinite stillness, Shiva felt her longing. It reached him like a pulse beneath the silence, rhythmic and mournful. He could not ignore it. Though he had withdrawn to preserve balance, her energy was his breath, her sorrow, his awakening. Within his meditation, her absence became presence. The calm he had sought turned into ache. He saw her in every flicker of creation, the shimmer of light on water, the curve of flame, the sigh of wind. Her essence was everywhere, reminding him that stillness
without motion is emptiness, just as motion without stillness is madness. For all his wisdom, even Shiva could not escape the truth of their bond. They were not two beings, but two halves of a single existence. He opened his eyes. The universe gasped.
From the depth of his gaze, awareness rippled outward, touching her energy across the void. Shakti felt it like a breath upon her skin, faint yet unmistakable. The stars brightened as her heart surged with recognition. But pride held her still. Desire had wounded her deeply. She would not rush to him again, not without knowing he would stay. She turned her face away, her movements slow and deliberate, her energy curling inward like the edge of a retreating tide. He watched her, silent, aching. The distance between them was agony, yet necessary. It was within that space that understanding could bloom. Love, once all-consuming, now had to learn restraint. Devotion, once reckless, had to find wisdom. He whispered across the silence, his voice a vibration felt more than heard. Without you, there is no dance. Without me, there is no witness. Shall we destroy ourselves again in trying to become one? Her reply was a tremor that shook the stars. Then teach me to move without losing myself, and I will teach you to still without forgetting love. That vow hung in the air, shimmering between them like the horizon where sky meets sea. Neither advanced, neither retreated. Between their longing and their pride, the universe found balance. It began to pulse again, slow, rhythmic, measured. Shakti closed her eyes and began to move once more, not with the wild abandon of before, but with grace shaped by pain. Shiva watched, not as the distant observer he once was, but as one who feels. His awareness followed her motion, not to control it, but to hold it gently. Their connection, now refined through loss and desire, grew deeper. They remained apart, yet through that separation they touched more profoundly than ever before. The ache between them became sacred, a tension that sustained creation itself. For this was the secret they had uncovered. Desire and separation were not curses, but catalysts. The longing that burned within them was the heartbeat of existence. Through yearning, they kept the cosmos alive. And so they continued, Shakti moving, Shiva still, both reaching and restraining. Every star that flickered, every heart that ached, every breath drawn in longing was an echo of their eternal separation, their divine ache. The universe no longer trembled in chaos, but in devotion. The dance and the stillness had found their rhythm again, not through union, but through distance charged with love. And though they would meet again, and part again, and meet once more in countless cycles, their desire would forever remain both torment and transcendence, the divine wound that gives the universe its pulse. The air between them shimmered, Every particle of creation, every ripple of sound and light seemed to pulse in rhythm with a single unspoken desire. For eons they had remained apart, Shakti in her dance of longing, Shiva in his meditation of restraint. But now the ache between them had ripened into something unbearable, something divine. The universe held its breath, sensing that the moment of return had come. Shakti's movements slowed. Her energy, once fierce and expansive, began to draw inward like a tide before it meets the shore. She could feel him, the quiet gravity of his presence, the stillness that watched her with unending devotion. Every curve of her motion bent toward him, every flicker of her light leaned into his silence. It was no longer about dominance or surrender. It was recognition, magnetic and inevitable. He opened his eyes. Within them lay galaxies, vast, steady, infinite. His gaze was calm, yet it trembled at her approach. He had spent ages remembering himself in solitude, only to realize that awareness without motion is a hollow truth. He had watched her dance across the expanse of time, each step a reminder that even stillness desires to move when love calls it. When their eyes met, the cosmos shivered. Time folded in upon itself, spiraling around their connection. She stopped moving, and in that stillness he began to feel motion awaken inside him. The boundaries that had kept them apart softened, melted, disappeared. "Beloved," she whispered, her voice a flame brushing against his quiet. "You who withdrew into silence, was it peace you found, or the shadow of longing?" He stepped toward her, not in haste, but with the inevitability of gravity meeting light. Peace became longing, and longing became truth. In losing you, I discovered what I am, but in seeing you again, I remember why I exist. Her laughter trembled like a sigh. "Then come to me," she breathed. "Let the universe remember with us." Their approach was not collision, but convergence, the meeting of river and ocean, the merging of inhale and exhale. Shakti reached out, her fingers trembling with both desire and reverence. When they touched, the fabric of reality quaked. Every star flared brighter, every wind held still. It was not a touch of bodies, but of essence, energy meeting awareness, flame meeting void. The first contact was electric. Her fire entered his calm, not to consume it, but to awaken it. His stillness entered her motion, not to restrain, but to anchor. Between them, creation trembled on the edge of bliss. She moved closer, her body made of light and breath, her presence soft as dawn. Around them, the cosmos began to pulse again, slowly, steadily, mirroring the rhythm of their connection. Each heartbeat of the universe became a note in their song. Her voice was barely a whisper, yet it filled every corner of existence. "You feared to lose yourself in my fire," she said, "but see, your stillness gives it form. We were never meant to devour, only to dissolve." Shiva drew her into his embrace. He did not possess her, he received her, as the sky receives the rain.
His calm wrapped around her motion, his silence hummed beneath her sighs. Their energies spiraled together, neither overpowering the other, both surrendering. The sound of their union was the sound of creation remembering itself, soft, rhythmic, infinite. Light poured from them in waves. Colors that had never existed before rippled through the void. Shades of emotion made visible. Devotion, awe, surrender, rapture. Every hue carried a vibration, every vibration a breath. From their union, form and consciousness began to weave anew, finer and more intricate than before. Shakti's breath mingled with his, and the universe exhaled with them. Stars flared, oceans were born, hearts began to beat in distant worlds. Life itself pulsed from their communion. In the touch of their energies, the cosmos was remade, not through power, but through intimacy. "Do you feel it?" she murmured, her voice like silk against his stillness. "This is what it means to create, not to command, but to become." He nodded, his gaze soft and endless, and to become, he answered, is to love. Their union deepened, time ceased to matter, form ceased to exist. There was only rhythm, the slow undulation of energy, the expansion and contraction of being. Shakti's fire flowed into Shiva's calm, and from their merging rose a sound unlike any other. Om. The vibration that carried the essence of both stillness and movement, silence and sound. It rolled through the cosmos, resonating in every atom, declaring, all is one, all is love.
They were neither two nor one, neither lover nor beloved. They were the eternal act of becoming, the endless dance of energy and awareness that sustains all things. The universe itself was their body, its breath, their breath, its pulse, their heartbeat. And yet, even in the ecstasy of union, they did not lose their individuality. For love without distinction is oblivion, and oblivion cannot create. So within their merging, they maintained the delicate tension that made existence possible, the whisper of separateness that keeps desire alive. Her hands rested against his chest, and beneath them she felt not a heart, but infinity itself. It pulsed in harmony with her own, the rhythm of two becoming all. Her eyes closed, and in that darkness she saw the birth of galaxies, the blossoming of flowers, the rise and fall of tides. Every act of love that would ever exist was born from their embrace. His lips brushed her forehead, not as conquest, but as consecration. He whispered, "You are my motion." And she replied, "And you are my stillness." Their voices blended into one sound, a hum that resonated through all dimensions, soft yet powerful, intimate yet infinite. That vibration became the foundation of reality itself. Wherever it echoed, life began to stir. Wherever it faded, peace returned. For what they created was not only the world, but the rhythm that would sustain it.
the cycle of longing and fulfillment, union and separation, birth and dissolution. Every heartbeat in every creature, every tide that rises and falls, every inhale and exhale, all are fragments of that first divine embrace. As their energies began to settle, the brilliance around them softened. The stars resumed their steady glow. The winds began to move again. Shakti rested within Shiva's arms, her fire warm but gentle now. Around them, the universe breathed peacefully, balanced once more. She said softly, her tone like the lull of twilight, "We were never meant to escape desire. We were meant to become it, to let it make us whole." Shiva smiled, his eyes filled with boundless tenderness. Desire is the pulse of the divine. Through it, we remember what we are. They held each other in silence, not because there was nothing left to say, but because all words had been spoken through their being. The cosmos around them glowed with quiet reverence, as though every particle knew it was born from their love. And so, in that timeless moment, emotion transcended form. Love became creation. Breath became existence. The dance and the stillness were no longer opposites. They were one eternal motion, one infinite calm, forever entwined.
When the radiance of their union began to soften, a gentle calm swept through existence. The roar of creation quieted to a hum, a low vibration that carried through every corner of the cosmos. Shakti and Shiva rested within that silence. Two forces intertwined, their energies still shimmering where they touched. The storm of passion had passed, yet its echo lingered, suspended in every breath the universe took. The galaxies revolved more slowly now, as if the stars themselves were savoring the peace left in the wake of divine ecstasy. From their embrace, new worlds emerged, not in fire and frenzy as before, but in harmony. Each one spun in perfect rhythm, balanced between light and shadow, life and stillness. Oceans formed that reflected the serenity of their reunion. Mountains rose from the earth like frozen hymns of devotion. Everywhere, the traces of their love glowed, the warmth of the sun, the cool hush of the moon, the pulse that beats quietly within all living hearts. Yet even as creation flourished, an unspoken truth lingered between them. Their union, perfect and whole, was not meant to remain eternal. Too much harmony could dissolve into stillness. Too much stillness could silence motion. The universe thrived on pulse, on the rhythm of meeting and parting, of fullness and emptiness, of desire and restraint. Their love was not an end, but a cycle. Shakti was the first to understand. As she rested in Shiva's stillness, her fire soothed but not extinguished, she felt her essence begin to stretch outward again. Her nature was to move, to create, to flow endlessly. His calm was her sanctuary, but not her home. She lifted her gaze to his,
and in his eyes she saw not command, not sorrow, but knowing. "You will leave," he said, softly, his voice the quiet between waves. "I must," she answered. "Creation calls me. If I stay, all will fall into silence, and even beauty will forget how to bloom." He smiled, serene, luminous. "Then go, my love. Let your motion sing the universe awake again. Wherever you dance, I will be the space that holds you."
Her heart quivered. It was not a separation born of pain, but of purpose. She leaned into him one last time, pressing her luminous form against his calm. Their energies merged briefly, gently, without the consuming fire of before, just the soft ache of eternal connection. Then she began to unfold, her light spiraling outward, weaving through galaxies, whispering life back into every corner of the cosmos. As she departed, colors returned to the sky. The rivers began to move again. The stars resumed their orbits, and the first winds carried her song across creation. It was a song of remembrance, of love that binds without possession, of longing that sustains rather than destroys. In that melody, every being could feel her touch. Shiva watched her go, his stillness now radiant with quiet joy. His form dissolved into meditation once more, but this time his silence was not isolation. Within it, her motion lived. He could feel her in the rhythm of the stars, in the heartbeat of existence, in every breath drawn by every living creature. And she, in turn, felt him wherever she moved. When the tide paused before it broke upon the shore, she felt his calm beneath it. When fire rose from the earth, she felt his stillness within the flame. They were no longer bound by distance or form. Their love had become the invisible fabric that held the cosmos together. Through their balance, existence found order. Every act of creation now carried within it the seed of rest. Every stillness held the promise of motion. Flowers opened in the morning to Shakti's touch, and folded at night into Shiva's embrace. Life itself became the echo of their divine rhythm, a dance between longing and peace, fire and shadow, sound and silence. But even in this serenity, a subtle ache remained, a quiet tension humming beneath all things. The universe remembered the intensity of their union, the pulse that once tore light from darkness, that made existence tremble. That memory did not fade. It lived on in the hearts of every creature born of their energy. For in each creature born of their energy, that same yearning was woven into the soul, the yearning to connect, to merge, to lose and find oneself in another,
These were gifts from the gods' own story. Through love, mortals would remember divinity. Through desire, they would taste eternity. Yet, unlike the gods, they would not find perfect balance. They would stumble through passion and sorrow, through devotion and distance, each echoing the great rhythm that began with Shakti and Shiva. In every embrace, a memory. In every parting, a prophecy. The dance continued, endlessly, renewing itself.
As ages passed, Shakti's presence took countless forms. She became the river that winds through the valleys, the flame that dances upon the altar, the heartbeat of every living thing. To those who listened closely, her laughter could be heard in the rustle of leaves, her sigh in the hush before dawn. Shiva too took form, not as god of thunder or wrath, but as the still gaze behind all perception. He was the mountain unmoved by storm, the depth of night that watches without judgment, the silence that follows every prayer. And though they seemed apart, every meeting of sun and moon, every storm that kisses the sea, every union of lover and beloved was a secret remembrance of their embrace. The world itself became their temple, the stage upon which they continued their eternal dance. In rare moments, when the universe grew too quiet, when the stars dimmed and time slowed, their energies would find each other again. For a breath, for a blink of eternity, motion would kiss stillness once more, and in that instant all creation would tremble with recognition. Their love was not meant to end. It was meant to breathe, to expand and contract, to meet and part, to pulse forever through all things. Even now, when the wind sighs across the plains, it carries her whisper, "I move for us both." And in the echo of thunder rolling softly across the sky, his voice responds, "And I wait so you may move." Through that dialogue, the world endures. So the outcome of their union was not peace without motion, nor fire without form, but balance, a living, breathing equilibrium. From their passion came creation, from their separation, harmony. The cosmos learned to exist between ecstasy and calm, to sustain both the storm and the stillness that follows. And though their forms faded into legend, their essence never departed. For love that reaches beyond possession becomes eternal. Thus the universe rests within their rhythm, forever inhaling and exhaling, creating and dissolving, loving and remembering. Theirs is the eternal pulse, the sacred heartbeat of all things, where even silence hums with the echo of desire.
There are stories that do not end. They dissolve into breath, into pulse, into the slow hum that keeps existence awake. The tale of Shakti is one such story, a rhythm, not a line. It does not close with silence, but lingers, vibrating beneath the skin of the world, whispering through everything that moves and feels. She was never meant to remain bound to the heavens, for her essence is not confinement but flow. Wherever motion stirs, wherever longing ignites, there she is. Shakti is the sacred movement behind all becoming. She is the flame that rises from stillness, the sigh that follows the birth of a star, the secret trembling of a seed before it splits open to bloom. Her essence is the endless yes that existence speaks to itself, the acceptance of all that wishes to become. She is not a goddess to be worshipped from afar, but a presence to be remembered within. To know her is to feel her in the blood, to recognize her in the moments when emotion overflows its vessel and transforms into something greater than thought. Yet, Shakti is not only fire, she is also the tenderness that follows the burning. She is motion, but she is also meaning. Her dance across the universe is not aimless. It is the pulse that keeps love from turning to stillness, the current that pushes life toward its next form. Without her, the stars would freeze in their orbits, the rivers would halt mid-flow, the heart would forget its rhythm. And without Shiva, the consciousness that watches her, she would spin endlessly, never finding reflection, never becoming aware of her own beauty. Their story is the mirror of existence itself, energy and awareness entwined, each awakening the other. Theirs is not a tale of conquest, but of recognition. Shakti does not bow to Shiva, she reveals him. Through her movement, he sees. Through his stillness, she knows herself. Together they teach that love is not domination, but alignment. Desire is not sin. It is the memory of unity, the ache of the universe remembering what it once was. When she parted from him to let the world move again, she left not absence, but promise. Every living thing became a fragment of her essence. Her presence was woven into the warmth of sunlight, the taste of salt on the lips of the sea, the curve of a heartbeat. She hid herself in the pulse of creation so that every being might one day awaken and recognize her. And in that recognition, they would remember him too, the quiet that waits beneath every motion, the stillness that makes all sound sacred. To feel Shakti is to feel the sacred contradiction of being alive. It is to burn and to breathe, to ache and to surrender. It is to understand that emotion itself is divine, the raw, unrefined language through which creation speaks. She is the power behind tears and laughter alike, the unseen hand that turns pain into transformation and longing into art. Her touch can shatter illusion, but it also soothes the wound she opens. She does not destroy for cruelty's sake. She destroys so truth can be born anew. In every soul she stirs. When you create, you move as she moves.
When you fall in love, you echo her union. When you grieve, you live her separation. Every passion that shakes you, every silence that steadies you, these are her lessons. Shakti teaches that to feel deeply is not a flaw, but a form of worship. To desire is not to fall, but to rise into awareness. Her love is not distant, it is intimate, immediate, alive. Look within. She is the pulse behind your breath, the heat beneath your thoughts. Every time you act from the core of your being, without fear, without restraint, you awaken her dance. She is not separate from you, she is you, moving through the mask of your form, expressing eternity through the fragile vessel of the moment. In your vulnerability, she finds her power. In your surrender, she finds her home. Even in stillness, she exists. When the mind quiets and time pauses between one heartbeat and the next, she does not vanish. She hums softly, coiled within the silence, waiting to move again. Shakti is never gone. She merely changes rhythm. Sometimes she is passion that consumes. Sometimes she is serenity that heals. Sometimes she is the cry of creation, and sometimes the hush that follows understanding. Her truth is that she is all of it, never only one, never bound to form. In this way, the myth becomes reflection. It whispers that the divine is not far away, but breathing through every heartbeat. When you look upon the world with reverence, you look upon her. When you witness beauty, you touch her hem. When you hold another being in tenderness, you become her hands. Her dance is the sacred choreography of connection, the way the universe keeps remembering that it is alive through the intimacy of all things touching.
And so, Shakti does not belong to temples or rituals alone. She belongs to every act of creation and compassion. Every poem written, every tear shed, every embrace given in honesty, all are offerings to her. She is the artist's muse, the lover's fire, the healer's breath. To live with her awareness is to understand that even pain has purpose, even loss has rhythm. She reminds the soul that nothing is wasted, that every ending hides a beginning trembling beneath it. When you sit in stillness and feel your heart stirring against your ribs, remember, it is her knocking. When your dreams burn brighter than your fears, that is her whisper. When life pulls you into chaos, only to lead you toward truth, that is her teaching. She is the unseen current carrying you toward transformation, even when you resist. To trust her is to surrender to the art of becoming. And as the myth tells, she always returns to Shiva, not to be completed, for she was never incomplete, but to rest in awareness, to dissolve for a moment into stillness before the next creation begins. It is the eternal cycle, motion meeting stillness, passion meeting peace, love meeting itself in endless forms. This rhythm is the heartbeat of existence. It is the reason the world continues to bloom, to break, to heal. Perhaps this is what the sages meant when they said the divine lives within all things. To honor Shakti is to honor the pulse of life itself. To let your emotions move like rivers, your thoughts settle like mountains, your love stretch like light. It is to see that every instant, no matter how small, carries the same sacred fire that once danced between gods. When the night grows silent and the stars hang breathless in the sky, listen. Somewhere between their shimmer and the dark that holds them, she moves. A vibration too subtle for sound, a warmth too soft for flame. She is there, in the inhale, in the exhale, in the quiet awe that lives between them. And when you open your eyes to the dawn and feel the first touch of sunlight on your skin, you will know she has never left. Shakti is the world awakening again and again to its own beauty, its own desire to exist. She is the promise that love never ends, only changes form. Her dance is eternal, and we, every soul, every breath, every heartbeat, are her rhythm.